This is the Husker Rundown. I'm Connor O'Gara, joining you after a 55-7 victory for the Huskers. They beat Florida Atlantic in the opener today. It was pretty much a one-sided affair. Nebraska gained 784 yards of offense. Florida Atlantic really did not put up much of a defense. Definitely some positives to take away from this one. Not going to look a whole lot into this game. Obviously, as Bo Pelini said afterwards, we did what we were supposed to do. This is a team we're supposed to beat. But definitely going to like the positives offensively. We'll start off there. You look at a guy like Tommy Armstrong comes in, obviously, with the big arm and the ability to run the football, can do a lot of different things. But I thought he stepped up in the passing game today. Definitely was looking for Jordan Westerkamp. Jordan Westerkamp had a monster day. Set a career high in receptions before the first half was over, and obviously you've seen by now his behind-the-back catch was a thing of beauty. If you haven't YouTubed that yet, definitely need to do that. Behind the back as he's going out of bounds. Bo Pelini said it best afterwards. He's like, I've been coaching for a long time. I have never seen anything like that. Just add to the legacy of Jordan Westerkamp, and that's Tommy Armstrong's roommate. You got to keep that in mind. These guys came into this as the same class together. I think Westerkamp is a guy that's going to get a lot more looks. I think he's going to lead this team in receptions this year. And then you got Kenny Bell as the deep threat, and he served that role today. I thought he spread the field nicely. There was one ball that he probably wishes he could have back that Armstrong probably outthrew him by a yard or two, but he's definitely going to be there. He is still that deep threat, and obviously Amir Abdullah. I mean, the guy he just takes off, and any hole that he sees, he's able to capitalize on it. He's really developed into such a capable back with such a good burst, and today is no different. Guy rushes for 232 yards. That's not too shabby in a season opener. I actually thought they left him in a little bit too late, probably for most Husker fans' likings, but definitely a solid all-around day. I mean, you look at the balance that was established with the offense. I think that's a big thing. Tommy Armstrong threw for 271 yards. That's not necessarily a dimension that this team had regularly last year, was that throwing dimension. So, yes, while it is Florida Atlantic, you look for this is what he should be doing against teams like Florida Atlantic. You don't want to see him, struggling to complete passes and doing things that he shouldn't be doing as a second-year starter now. So, definitely a lot of positives to take away from this one. The biggest Husker blowout since 1993. Biggest Husker opener blowout since 1993, that is. Just a complete demolition offensively today. And then defensively, Husker fans got pretty nervous to see Randy Gregory go down at the end of the first quarter. He did not come back into the game. He was replaced by Wood River native Jake Gangwish, and he stepped in and really stabilized that defensive line, just was able to stay in his gaps and didn't necessarily make some of those big highlight reel plays. He was able to get involved in a sack. He said afterwards he didn't even know if he would be credited for that. I think still waiting on the official word for that one, but just was able to stop, not necessarily that there was going to be bleeding, but if he was struggling big time, I think the Huskers would have pushed Gregory to come back into that game. And if it was something where, he's just getting beat off the block every single time, I think they would have really pushed for Gregory to get back in this one. But as a result, they were able to rest him the rest of the way. I think that Gangwish said it best after. He said, those are very expensive legs, and that was the most important thing to focus on today. You definitely do not want to see a preseason All-American go down in the first quarter of your opening game of the season, especially a game you win by 48 points. So I think they're just doing their due diligence to be able to protect his long-term future here. So he's definitely going to be able to do some big things. Bo Pelini said afterwards he doesn't necessarily know what the injury is, but they were confident that it's just kind of a day-to-day thing. You just hope that this isn't something that's going to linger. You never know what can happen with injuries that linger like this, and he's such a critical part of that defense. But I found it interesting that Florida Atlantic scored on their opening drive, and we're all kind of thinking, oh, same Husker defense as the days of old, and they can't stop a cold. But then the defense stepped up, didn't allow another point the rest of the way. So yes, it is the Florida Atlantic offense, that saw its backup quarterback come in the second half. But other than that, the Husker defense did what it was supposed to do. I think that's the biggest thing you look for in games like this. There shouldn't be too many takeaway points as far as, oh, this guy's a star, or this guy's a star. You got to keep in mind the competition they're playing against. But guys need to do what they're supposed to do. And I think that was the overriding theme today from the Husker press conference. Really, next week, they're going to have another chance to do exactly what they're supposed to do. They're going to get to face McNeese State at home. That's an early one. That starts at 11 o'clock. And I think for this team, it's really just about establishing an identity early. You want to be able to see big games like this out of your skilled players. You want to see your defense healthy and getting continuous stops. It's one thing to kind of have the bend but don't break, and that's really what Nebraska had in the non-con part of last year's schedule. But I think this team needs to just be able to find that identity early and stick with it, because that's obviously so important come Big Ten play. So going to be interested to see the way that this Randy Gregory thing shakes out. If Jack Gangwish keeps getting more playing time, that's obviously a big benefit for him. Seems like somebody that really relishes that role, wants to be one of those guys. He's a walk-on. Would be cool for a Hub territory guy to have a big role in this defense. So, yeah, a lot of interesting things to look at the rest of the way. And, yeah, I'll be back here next week. And until then, this has been the Husker Rundown. I'm Connor Guerrero. Thanks, guys. See you next week.